Hi, it's Myan Subrayan here, and so good to be able to speak to you at this time. I know a lot has happened in this year, and there's a lot that we can complain about, but that's not what I'm here to do. And I believe the first school that's going to watch this message is Grey College in Bloemfontein, and I've got really good fond memories of Grey College in Bloem. I know 2 years ago. I did a talk at the Ma's and Cian's on bait, mothers and sons breakfast. And if you remember, I entitled that talk Bloom in Bloom. And, at the moment, as I started off saying, it's probably a lot of excuses as to why you can't bloom in bloom. But hopefully, at the end of my message for you today, you'd be able to say, yes, I can bloom wherever I am planted. And that's the key thing. Nothing's coincidental. Nothing happens by chance. And yes, while we can talk about, all the things that have happened this year that has made it so challenging and tough for you to get to your exams, I'm here to encourage you, to let you know that, you're only free until you believe in me. And if it's going to be, it's up to me. And you're going to be the one that's going to make the difference. At the end of the day, when we look at what has happened, we can make a lot of excuses. And that's what I want to start off with today, because, if we had to look at the reasons why you're not going to do well in the exams, I mean, you can write down a whole lot of things, and I'd like you to write it down. Write down all the reasons why, or the excuses why, you think you're not going to do well in the upcoming metric examinations. And I'm going to call it excuses. And I think one of the big excuses we all can agree on is going to be COVID-19. Yeah? COVID-19, I mean, the whole world has been impacted by it. It's something that we haven't planned for. No one's ever expected it. I mean, wow, what an incredible, devastating impact it's had over the world. And so COVID-19 will be a big one. And then, the other excuse we can make for not doing well in the exams is blame the government. Yeah, we can blame the government. I believe the government, we can say the government hasn't acted well enough, they haven't prepared us enough, they haven't done what we would have liked them to have done. So we can put the government down. And then the other excuse is our school. We can say that our school has not prepared us enough for the examinations. They haven't done this, they haven't done that. Who else can we blame? Well, we can blame our parents as well. Let's put our parents there. We can say our parents. Anything else we can blame on, because there's so many excuses that we can give for not succeeding. But at the end of the day, somebody said this year, he said that the most profitless thing to manufacture is an excuse. And you know why it is profitless and it doesn't benefit anyone? Because number one, it doesn't benefit the person receiving the excuse. But number two, more importantly, it does not benefit the person giving the excuse. So when you make an excuse, it doesn't benefit anyone, yourself and anybody else. When I was asked to consider doing this message, it was just yesterday, just a day ago. I got a WhatsApp message from my good friend Benno Jacobs. He's there in Bloemfontein, and I've got really good memories, Benno, of being in Bloem. The last time we were there, we had a nice bunny chow. Yeah, you can have a look at that there. We've had a lovely bunny chow together. So Benny, I'm looking forward to the next trip to Bloemfontein, because the way to my heart is with a nice curry, a lekker curry, and a bunny chow. But Benno called me up and he said, hey man, you know what, the kids are not looking forward to the exams at the moment. There's so much of things that have happened. Would you be able to give them a message? And I could have made a ton of excuses and legitimate excuses. I could have said, well, number one, I'm currently living in New Zealand, so how am I going to give them a message? And number two, there's the time zone. I mean, there's such a big difference in the time. At the moment, we are 11 hours ahead of South Africa. So whatever time it is there in South Africa, add 11 hours to that. I mean, it's a big difference in the times. And I could have given a whole lot more excuses. I'm busy, I'm this and that. But, there's an opportunity for me to encourage you. Even if it's one person, but it's about making a difference. And it's about not creating excuses. And that's what I want to entitle my talk today. Because in the book that I've written called Unstoppable, it's a book that I've entitled Unstoppable, Staying on Target. The Afrikaans version is on State Bar. Because at the end of the day, your success and your achievements in life are in your hands. And what do you do with it? You can complain and you can say that you don't have this, you don't have that. And there's a lovely story in the olden days when I'm going way back now, when God had called Moses to go and speak to the Pharaoh to ask him to let his people go. You know what Moses said? Moses came up with all the excuses. He said, I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate. I don't have what it takes. Send somebody else. Send my brother Aaron. And we can be in that position right now. I don't want to write this exams, mom and dad, or Mr. and Mrs. at the school. I'm not prepared enough. Don't you know the government? Don't you know COVID? Don't you know this? Don't you know that? But you know what was God's response to Moses? He asked Moses a question. He said, Moses, what is in your hand? He didn't say to Moses, you got to go and do this, you got to go and do that, you got to get this, you got to get that. He said, hey, what do you have? And what Moses had in his hand was a staff that he could use. And God said to him, use that. And that's the challenge I want to give to you today. Use what you've got. Don't make excuses. Yes, there are valid excuses. I'm not discounting and saying that those excuses are not good enough. But you know what? The whole thing is that if you want to achieve something, you will make a way. If you don't want to achieve something, you'll make an excuse. And this is why the first chapter of the book Unstoppable, which is a book that I've written to encourage people to achieve their goals and achieve the successes that they desire in life. And in sitting down to plan the book, the first biggest obstacle to you not achieving your dreams and your goals is excuses. There's a lovely quote here by Benjamin Franklin, and he says, he that is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else. And it's one thing to say it, it's one thing to write it, but it's another thing to live it. And I don't want to be known as someone that has given a good message. For me, it's about becoming the message. And therefore, when Benno and Bram asked me to consider doing this talk, in fact, they made more excuses for me not doing it than me as well, because they understood, the challenges that I would face in doing the message. But no, I don't want to be known for someone that makes excuses. And therefore, I wanted to start off with that there and say to you that, at the end of the day, the people that we admire in life, the people that we regard as successful people, they don't make excuses. They look at every opportunity to get it done. And therefore, I asked you, write down all the excuses that are there for you not doing well in these exams. And then ask yourself a question. What are you going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, we can have all of these excuses, but what matters is what you think about it. This is why it's so important to know, yes, we can't stop the birds from flying above our heads, but we can certainly stop them from making a nest on our head. What do I mean by that? There's a whole lot of negativity around us at this moment in time. Hey, you don't need me to remind you of that. Just pick up the newspaper, switch on the television news. That's why I don't listen to the news. I don't read the newspapers. Well, I read the newspapers, but from the back with the sports side of it. That's what I read. And I don't know whether I should talk about rugby, because here in New Zealand, they just drew, the All Blacks drew with Australia 16-16 on the weekend. So the people are not too happy, but I'm wearing my Springbok shirt here, and I don't think they're too happy about that as well. But with that as well, 16-16 in New Zealand, they call that a draw in New Zealand is regarded as kissing your own cousin. That's how they look at it, as that. That's a joke that there, and that's how they are, And so again, there could have been so many excuses that I could have made. And I think about when I was growing up in 1992, I did my Matric, and I had a whole lot of excuses. The last time I spoke to you at the mums and sons breakfast, I shared about my mum, and I shared about what an inspiration my mum has been in my life. Because my mum was quite sickly. She had a heart problem, and in 92 when I did my Matric, my mum was very sick because she had just had an open heart surgery procedure, and she was not well. She was in the hospital, out of the hospital, and there were so many reasons I could have given, legitimate excuses for not doing well in my Matric exams. But I looked at it as a challenge. And I looked at it as a good challenge, that I had an opportunity to go out and do my best with whatever I had. And that's what I'm saying. You know, in 2020, this year is going to be remembered in the years to come. But how do you remember it? Do you remember it as a year that, overcame you? Or is it a year that you overcame? And that's the challenge. So like Moses, what is in your hand? Use what you've got. Don't look for what you don't have. You know, we can complain to God for what we don't have, but we can be grateful for what we do have. And that's the key thing. Don't be ungrateful. Don't complain. Don't make excuses. And this is why I started off this book with the first chapter being Make No Excuses, because excuses are just lies wrapped up more neatly in reasons. That's what it is. And we can blame others, we can make excuses for failure, but it's all about the choices that you make in life. That is the key part in how to achieve success. You know, don't be the one that makes excuses, because that's all it is, a justification to defend your failure to act or to follow through on things. And you know, I look at as well in school. You know, the school that I attended wasn't the most well-equipped school. It didn't have a lot of finances. It didn't have these wide range of lessons or subjects that were available, and many people made excuses. And I remember, you know, my sister, she was 3 years younger than me, and when she came to do a matric, people were saying, but you know, she's got to leave the school because the school is not good enough. The school is ill-equipped. Go to another school that has more equipment, that has more finances, has better teachers, and all of that there, because she's not going to do well. And you know, all these excuses were coming up. But you know, my sister, you know, she was dedicated. She was committed. She put her heart and soul, knowing that if she did the work, if she studied hard, if she put in the effort, the results will come. And that's what you got to remember. So there were again a lot of excuses for my sister not to do well. But you know, in her matric, when she did a matric, she ended up getting 5 A's and a B. 5 A's and a B. Yeah, you know, I scolded her. Why did she get that B? Not good enough. No, I was just joking. But you know, again, I use that illustration to highlight that it doesn't matter, you know, which school you go to. It doesn't matter about whether you don't have enough facilities and finances and equipment and all of that. You know, my sister's example proves that it's what you do about it. It's about the effort that you put in. So you can make excuses and say, hey, you know, the school I'm in doesn't have this, doesn't have that, they don't have these type of teachers and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? You go through the material and you put in the effort. And I guarantee you that if you give your best, don't worry. Just give your best. You know, in my days, maybe your parents would remember, there was an advert for a chicken's company, and the guy, whose name was Farmer Brown, and he said, hey, they taste so good because they eat so good. And he said, what you put in is what you're going to get out. And that's how it is in life. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. If you put in the effort, if you put in the hard work, you know what? You're going to get rewarded for that. It's a universal principle in life. You know, I'll give you an example. I know we in South Africa, daar is baie boere mense daar, mense wat op die plaas werk. And you know, so farming is a big part in South Africa. And we know that if I give you tomato seeds to plant, you know, I wrote a book, Tomati Straat, so I'm talking about tomatoes. If I give you tomato seeds to plant, what can I expect back as a harvest? Potatoes? Absolutely not. What you plant is what you're going to get back. So if you plant tomato seeds, you're going to get back tomatoes. It's a universal principle. So it's the same in life. Your thoughts are seeds. And if you think thoughts of failure, thoughts of I can't do it, I'm not good enough, you know what you're going to reward yourself with, or what you're going to receive? Yes, negativity. But if you sow thoughts of, yes, I'm going to try, despite everything that's happened, I'm going to try. Because you know, the only failure in life is not trying. And I can guarantee you, there's not one parent that's going to be hard on their child for not giving their best and not trying hard enough. Yeah, you may not get the result that you expected, but the parents understand. So don't beat yourself up. Don't think, hey, it's the end of the world if I don't do well in the exams or anything like that. But the main thing is that you give it your best shot. And that's all I'm here to encourage you to do. is don't dwell on the negative stuff. Don't dwell on all the if-onlys and I should have done this, I should have done that. No, move forward with positivity. You know, in the book, I say this here that there's 4 keys on succeeding ahead of excuses. Number 1 is prioritize. So I would encourage you, I'm sure you already done it, prioritize. List down the things that you need to do and prioritize. Plan them across. A key reason why people make excuses is that it is not a priority. So at this time, I'm saying, you know, if you had to choose between going out and partying with your friends, going out and playing and doing stuff as opposed to studying, no. That's not a priority. Focus on getting in what needs to be done. Number 2, forward thinking, which is again part of the planning. When you think solely about the present and not prepared to look to the future, then excuses can creep in because you haven't made the voorbereidings. You haven't made the preparation. So you know what? Don't avoid the things that are going to help you get closer to achieving your goal. Like television. There's no need for you to be watching TV at this time. Maybe as a reward or something like that for a few minutes. But switch it off. Get it out. Focus on what needs to be done. And like I said to you as well, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is not the end of the world because failure is part of the overall process of life. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of going into the examination because you're afraid of not doing well. No. Don't allow that to get you done. The other important part, which I feel is so crucial, is take responsibility. Take responsibility. That is so important. Successful people do not make excuses and blame others when they fail. Yes, a lot of what's happened in the world is nothing of what you have done. I mean, you didn't cause COVID, I didn't cause COVID, I didn't cause a lockdown, you didn't cause a lockdown. But take responsibility for yourself. You have got the equal amount of time than everybody else in South Africa. All the other students have the same opportunity in terms of time. They have to work with the same things that you have in order to do it. So don't make excuses.